word entertainer, and everyone was like drawing comparisons. Hey, he's throwing shade at Shedeur.
But even that interview was cut out of context.
Right.
If you listen to the whole thing, it made total sense. The one thing that I truly don't know, and I don't think anybody really has a good pulse of this, is what's it like in the locker room? Because I think that happens at Tebow. Players get jealous of the attention, and I think Shedeur, I think the players like him. I think he's handled this better than anybody. From the minute he started dropping when he was drafted, he didn't complain about being a 5th-round pick. He didn't try to make excuses. He didn't say there was any conspiracy. He said, I'm just happy to have a job. I want to go to work. As long as he maintains that attitude inside the locker room, he'll be fine. Yeah. But if he goes in there and acts like a starter and acts like, hey, I'm getting screwed here, that's when it becomes problematic in the locker room. But I haven't seen that yet, and I wouldn't expect it out of him either.
We did have a 6th-round pick in the draft cut today. Kyle McCord cut by the Philadelphia Eagles. McCord had that great season with Syracuse a couple of years ago. Let's move on to the Minnesota Vikings, who have J.J. McCarthy coming in as a pseudo-rookie, right? I mean, he was on the team last year, but he was hurt. J.J., you go into this season, you think he's going to have all these weapons to deal with, but Justin Jefferson has been out with a hamstring injury. You've got Jordan Addison suspended for the first 3 games. How thin might they be at that wide receiver position to start the year, and what are they going to do about it?
So the Minnesota Vikings absolutely want to add a veteran wide receiver. They have made no secret of that. So who could that be? They'd love for it to be Carolina Panthers veteran wide receiver Adam Thielen, someone that they are very familiar with. I don't know that the Carolina Panthers are going to part with Adam Thielen. And while it is not a 1-and-1 sort of thing, the fact that the New Orleans Saints gave up a 4th-round pick for Devon Vele, that kind of throws off some of the compensation around the NFL for wide receivers. And so the Vikings still doing work. I believe that they would have wanted to get a wide receiver in there already by Monday afternoon, because look, when we get to cut down day on Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, the guys who are getting cut, we could probably already predict more or less, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but you're going to know who's going to be released. The Vikings know that, other teams know that, so they're going to try to make a deal for some wide receiver who's out there. The New England Patriots could be shedding some talent. They're also looking for some wide receiver help. One name, I just want to go ahead and put this out there and then probably put it to rest. A lot of teams are looking down in Miami and wondering, are the Dolphins going to part with Tyreek Hill or not, right? There's been a weird offseason, and the sort of talk that Tua has had and everything, and how this has not seemingly worked out between the two parties. I'm told that's probably not going to happen for any number of reasons. I expect Tyreek Hill to remain with the Miami Dolphins, to suit up for them in week 1, but just a lot of teams have been scouring, in large part because there's not a lot out there for those big names. So just keep an eye on that.
When I look at it, this is interesting because, yes, Justin Jefferson is dealing with the hamstring injury. You hope that he's going to be ready for week 1. To JJ's point, Jordan Addison is going to be suspended for the first 3 games. A guy that I really like on their team is their 3rd receiver that not a lot of people talk about, Jalen Naylor. Now, he did deal with a hand injury earlier. I think he'll be in line for more snaps. But DK, just imagine, JJ McCarthy, remember where he came from, Michigan?
Yep.
Weren't they famous for having extra tight ends and O-linemen on the field? They have 2 really good tight ends, Josh Oliver, TJ Hawkinson. Could they maybe, take some more reps and go more 12 personnel while they wait for Jordan Addison to come back, because we know J.J. McCarthy is comfortable in that offense. And one thing Kevin O'Connell does really well, he really knows how to set his quarterback up for success. So to J.J.'s point, they would love to bring Adam Thielen back, but he's been a veteran presence for Bryce Young at the Carolina Panthers. I don't think they're going to let go of him just because they have so many young receivers. They need that calming veteran presence with the Carolina Panthers. But I can see the Minnesota Vikings leaning on their tight ends while Jordan Addison is out suspended for the first 3 weeks.
The only problem is, and this is what else I remember about J.J. McCarthy at Michigan, he only threw it like 24, 25 times a game. The NFL is a pass-happy league. Right. But they, this is my biggest concern for J.J. McCarthy, to have so much of the workload on his shoulders now. He was just asked, and he was great at stepping up big in 3rd down situations, red zone situations. He made some big plays, but when the balance of the game, and they're asking to put up numbers like Sam Darnold did last year, where he was in the MVP conversation, I think they realize, we have a young quarterback who's never had this load on his shoulders, and we don't have great options on the outside. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if they're starting to make a much juicier offer to Carolina to bring Thielen back, somebody they know and trust, and that veteran presence. We were talking earlier in the show about Terry McLaurin, who, you know, is the consummate professional for the Commanders. I think Adam Thielen would bring some of that leadership, mentorship to an entire locker room, not just J.J. McCarthy.
And there is a veteran wideout who has just requested a trade out of Las Vegas, and that is Jacobi Meyers. Over the past 2 years, no Raiders players had more receiving yards or touchdowns than him. So want to get to our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. JJ, what more can you tell us about Jacobi Meyers requesting a trade out of Vegas?
Yeah, so remember a couple years ago, Jacobi Meyers signed that 3-year, $33 million contract with the Raiders. That was a couple general managers ago. Now he's in the final year of his deal. Just had a 1,000-yard season, and he and the Raiders apparently cannot come to terms on any sort of contract extension. And so he's looking for a potential way out. Again, a number of teams out there in the NFL looking for quality wide receiver help. So this is a well-timed trade request for Jacobi Meyers. Now, will the Raiders actually acquiesce? No. They can't afford to lose Jacobi Meyers when you look at this depth chart. This is not a good wide receiver room, and he is very clearly their top wide receiver. Now, of course, they have weapons around Geno Smith. They went out and drafted Ashton Jeanty. We know that they may have the best tight end in the game, certainly the best young tight end in Brock Bowers there. And so they have guys who can run and throw the football to, who can tote the rock, but they need a wide receiver, and Jacobi Meyers was that guy. And frankly, they needed wide receivers beyond Jacobi Meyers, so to lose him would be something. I think this is a major first test, or really second test if you consider the Christian Wilkins ordeal from a few weeks ago, for general manager John Spytek in his first year at the helm there in Vegas. I don't see the Raiders right now, as it stands, making any sort of moves with Jacobi Meyers, in large part because they need him out there on the field to help them win football games.
All right, our Jonathan Jones back with us as we get set to kick off another NFL season. Oh, we got a full desk as we kick off week 1 in college football into a long Labor Day weekend, and then 10 days from the NFL season kicking off. Chris Hassel with Jacqueline D'Agostino, BJ Duzable, and Danny Cannell on a day where we did get some pretty big NFL news.
We did, finally. I felt like we were just waiting for the scary Terry news to come out, and he puts pen to paper. He gets paid. It's a 3-year extension, paying him $96 million. Need to look down, make sure I'm not getting those numbers incorrect. He's now the 6th highest paid wide receiver in the league, tied with A.J. Brown. I thought it was going to happen. I felt like it was, you know, he's holding in. He's going to show up. He's going to play, right? So let's welcome in our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. JJ, great to see you here. What more can you tell us, JJ, about the numbers and how all of this went down with Terry McLaurin and the Washington Commanders?
Yeah, it was bound to happen because remember when all of this started, right? He was not showing up to camp. Well, he was losing $50,000 every single day that he did not show up to camp. And so then it was, well, I'm going to show up, but I'm going to hold in. Well, then what did we see during that hold in? Terry McLaurin being chummy, being pally, if you will, with everyone with the Washington Commanders organization, including but not limited to the owner, Josh Harris. And so everyone, both with Washington and around the NFL, anticipated that a contract extension would get done. The number was going to have to be upwards of $30 million in average annual value. They got that with the reported number of $32 million in average annual value. Notice my emphasis on reported and $96 million. I think when the final numbers come through, and they still have not after this contract has been agreed to, I will be very, very surprised if this is truly $32 million per year. I would think it's going to be closer to 29, maybe a shade under 30, but ultimately they get this deal done for a 30-year-old receiver who has been very consistent for the Commanders, who has been a quality person and character on and off the field through regime changes, both ownership-wise and general manager-wise and head coach-wise, and then, of course, with the quarterback being the best friend of Jaden Daniels out there. And so as this team looks to build off of their NFC title game appearance last year, they go ahead and lock in Terry McLaurin for this upcoming year and 3 more years years beyond that? And then finally, the last question is, well, he hasn't been out there on the field. How long is it going to take him to get his sea legs? Well, I'm told that the Commanders aren't too worried about it. He's been out there running. They feel very good about his availability and what he'll be able to contribute in Week 1 for Washington.
We heard from Lee J a little bit earlier, Danny, that and he believes that this agreement, this extension, could be the difference in the Commanders getting to the Super Bowl. Would you buy that?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously such a critical part of what this offense wants to be. He's Jaden Daniels' favorite target, as well as his best friend, as JJ just talked about. I mean, Jaden Daniels had 56 first down throws to Terry McLaurin last year. Terry McLaurin had his career high in touchdown passes, so absolutely. I don't know if I'm quite as bullish as my boy Lee J saying they're going to the Super Bowl, but if that is in the plans, it has to be a part of it. I think JJ hit on something there that I think we've all been saying, is that this is a locker room guy. There's certain guys that are leaders in a locker room that set the tone, that set the culture, and Terry McLaurin is one of those guys, which is why I was never worried about this getting done. It just felt like it was a matter of time, because I think the Commanders as an organization knew they could not let a player like this go. I got a little bit nervous when he started saying, hey, I want top 3 receiver type money, and when we see the numbers come out, yeah, he didn't get that, but I'm sure he's got to be pretty pleased with the numbers that are getting back, and that he's got a lot more guaranteed money coming his way.
Yeah, you're not just paying for the player on the field. You're paying for all the intangibles that he brings as far as leadership. And DK kind of hit on this. When you look at those top receivers, the top 6 receivers paid in the NFL, the one thing that is consistent with them, consistent quarterback play. Well, Scary Terry McLaurin has not got that. He's gone over 1,000 yards every single year, except his rookie year, and he went over 900 that year, and he's played with 8 different quarterbacks. So you look at that, Jamar Chase, same quarterback. Justin Jefferson has had really good quarterback play. CeeDee Lamb has had Dak Prescott, right? DK Metcalf, Geno Smith, also Russell Wilson. Garrett Wilson has struggled with some quarterbacks, and A.J. Brown's playing with one of the better quarterbacks in Jalen Hurts. When you look at Terry McLaurin, he's played with a bevy of quarterbacks, and no matter who the quarterback is, you get production from him. DK mentioned this last year, over 13 receiving touchdowns, was second in the NFL, only second to Jamar Chase. So I thought this deal was going to get done. To DK's point, I'm mad that it took this long, because as a veteran, you only need about 2 solid training camp weeks. Now, they're out of training camp now, so it's more in-season practice. You wonder how long it takes for him to really get those legs up under him. I think by week 2, we'll see the scary Terry McLaurin we saw last year.
All right, so as the preseason ends now, the 2 big holdouts remaining are the pass rushers. JJ, what's